Today, when Damon Albarn and Graham Coxon came to the Front Row studio, I asked why the sessions in Hong Kong had gone so well.
I put it down to the fact that we did the whole thing together. We left the hotel at the same time in the morning, got on the tube.
You were going to work?
But that's just sort of something that you lose. You know, a band is a group of people who sort of grow up with each other, share the same experiences. It is a gang, and without that key mentality, I think the music dissipates. So what we returned to was that gang mentality by that simple act of just taking the tube to work together. So this was 5 days of just doing fun.
Were the songs
Bits.
fully formed, so
No.
they were just sketches of ideas?
Yes, sketches.
Because Hong Kong seems to permeate the album in terms of the imagery a lot.
Green, green, the neon green, new old towers.
We finished those 5 days, and I think we must have had something. Graham reckons we had about 40 hours of music. So I kind of put those songs to the side of the room and then put some other boxes on top of it.
And what did you think, Graham? Did you think there's an album here and we should get back into the studio and we should finish it off?
It was an overwhelming kind of task, really, the whole idea of trawling through 40 hours of music. It's not really our job, and I suppose that's something we had to just finally admit, and maybe it was a sort of a revelation. I said, why should it be our job to trawl through all this? We should.
Whose job is that, a producer's
be able
job?
to trust a grown-up, you know,
Yeah.
to do it.
So you asked Stephen Street, who was your original producer on the first 4 or 5 Blur albums, to come and sort through and...
Graham did. Graham did. First, Neve, who's one of our managers, she said, Graham wants to ask you something. And I was like, oh, God, okay. So Graham came round and he just proposed this idea.
Were you nervous about proposing that idea, Graham? Because the fact that you had to go through an intermediary, you couldn't just phone up Damon and say, look, let's go and finish the album.
It wasn't going through an intermediary. I had this idea and I put it past someone who might have, you know,
Another
have a
grown-up.
feeling for
Another grown-up, yeah, delicate.
have a
Always
feeling for the
delicate.
temperature that I was of the bath that I wanted to get into. If you want to get all metaphorical, you know.
And what did you think, Damon? Did you think, no, I don't want to go back there? Or...
No, I thought that, what a brilliant idea. I felt like this is my old friend coming back. You know, person that I started this journey with. Person that... I can You know,
you have known each other since, what, 11 years
old? I
old?
played in the Porter cabin at Stanway Comprehensive School when we were 11, you know. It felt that positive.
And it was about the friendship as well, and that
Absolutely.
was important. And because, of course, on this programme...
All of this since 2009 has been about, in a way, Graham and I kind of sort of returning to where we started, emotionally and, you know.
And you said, I think it was 2009 when you reformed and you were doing those gigs at Glastonbury and Hyde Park for the first time, and you said on Front Row, you know, you'd met on Camden High Street, you'd shared an Eccles cake, you'd made up, you'd got your friendship back together again. But this is a significant move to be back in a studio as a working band again.
Well, exactly. What we did in that studio was the right thing to do.
When we were more like brothers, but that was years ago. So if it doesn't seem like a protocol.
So let me ask you about My Terracotta Heart, which seems to address your relationship, and there's a reference to the relationship when we were more like brothers. It's looking back to a past when the sun was shining. Is that about Graham? Is that about the two of you?
It kind of was an amalgam of all the sort of moments where I thought, I love Graham dearly, but I can't work with him anymore. He's a pain in the arse. You know. do you know what I mean?
Okay. Let me just ask Graham though. When you heard that lyric, did you know instantly it was about you?
It dawned on me, yeah, it did. I thought this is very familiar. I mean, well, actually, I was surprised because it was quite direct in a way.
Was it touching in
It's
that
a
way
little
that
bit
he
more
was?
direct than Damon normally is. But what shocked me a bit more is my picking electric guitar, which was put on there before Damon's finished lyric and vocal was put on there, and when we were more like brothers. That combination took me to where he used to live right on the outskirts of Colchester, round the back, with a field and this river, etc., sunshine. It was a very kind of idealistic time.
My Terracotta Heart is probably the most, sounds like the most personal song on the album, but in terms of the lyrical content, there are references, there seem to be
I
references
don't know,
to...
Mirabelle's pretty personal as well.
Is it? Right.
Yeah.
On a Jordan train, I was under sea then.
Mirabelle is really kind of inspired about a lovely afternoon with my daughter at Ocean Park, which is the sort of big fun palace hanging off a cliff.
Ocean Park, where the seagulls cry. I remember flying dragons too. I was there.
So it was that sort of missing her, hadn't been at home for a while. All those things which are fantastic if you're a songwriter, those emotions that, you know, you have to allow to sort of live in you all the time.
The mausoleums falling, the perfect avenues, empty without you. The pink light that bathes the great leaders is fading.
And Pyongyang, another song on the album, which seems to be like reportage because you went to North Korea,
Yes.
and you're allowed in there, and you did a kind of research
not
project.
anymore,
Probably
but-
not anymore. But I mean, and that is about. I mean, you're reflecting there on the kind of the pink glow that bathes the great leader fading.
But it's all about my day trip to the mausoleum of the great leaders. It was just the most mind-blowing place on earth. You're on this walker-later for an hour, going slowly, slowly. Isn't this the same piece of music on loop all the way into, through and out of the mausoleum?
To the palace of voodoo. Temperature keeps falling.
What's next, Graham? For well, obviously, you know, there's an expectation you're going to take this record on tour. You're playing at Hyde Park, and there's more gigs. But this must have whetted the appetite, hasn't it, to get back in the studio and do some more
It's whetted
recording.
my appetite to, of course, to keep my involvement in music. I've learned more about what I think Damon likes about making music with this and what I like.
Just being spontaneous, not thinking about it. And if we can do that again, then I don't see why we can't start another record at some point.
Because you're incredibly busy. I mean, you're working on a musical at the National at the moment called Wonderland, directed by Rufus Norris.
Wonder.land.
Wonder
I don't know
Dotland, yeah,
why.
all lowercase as well.
Yes.
And we're based on Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about that? Because I know you're still in early stages, although you're on stage
Well, not in early
July.
stages of writing, in very late stages of writing, but in early stages of trying to make it work on the stage.
Yeah, and you're writing the songs. Moira Buffini is writing the...
Well, songs, it's more than songs. I mean, this is what I would call a proper musical. I think it sounds like in between Lionel Bart and Kurt Weill. It's somewhere in there.
Just briefly, I mean, 20 years ago, the dreaded summer of Britpop and the big battle of the bands and Oasis and Black. Yes, but it's been so overworked, that whole story, hasn't it? But who?
Well, I'll tell you a funny story. I mean, just to so you get a sense of how all-pervasive that period is, I was doing with Rufus an audition for a swinger, which in the theatre is an actor who can cover quite a few parts.
Right, yeah.
And two of the people that came in put their music with the piano player and started singing Oasis songs. Two people, not just
Really?
one, two people. Yeah. So I don't know.
Auditioning for a musical.
Yeah. My musical.
Yeah.
Yeah. I filmed one of them. I haven't yet sent it to Noel, but I thought he'd be quite amused by it. But I didn't know quite what they were trying to achieve.
What were they
by it.
singing, by the way?
Some might say, and Wonderwall.
Right, okay.
I don't think either of them made it to the actual final cast. Not because of their choice of songs.
Not because of the choice of the songs. Okay.
The fact is, it follows me around wherever I go. It's never going to leave me. It's never going to leave us, really, is it?
As you are now a functioning working band and back in the pop game to an extent, who is the pop game?
Yeah.
Who is the competition
I don't know if we're
now?
back in the pop game.
Who is the competition now? Or do you not have any? Do you not regard it in that
It's not
sense?
about competition.
It's
anymore.
not.
There isn't anybody kind of like us there at the moment, I don't think.
Damon, Graham, thanks very much indeed. This is Albarn.